Sick of getting blisters? Stop slipping and just be comfortable with Pure Grip Socks Pro. Great fit, great comfort, lots of grip, and an even better price. Available now at puregripsocks.com.
As you're watching this, we are 21 days into 2024, and I am confident in saying that this will be the worst boot of the year by far. In fact, it's one of the worst football boots I've ever worn. I wish I was joking. Ladies and gentlemen, say hello to the brand new Adidas Predator 30 Pro, the first takedown model in the new Pred lineup, where if you're unfamiliar with the new Adidas naming structure, this would effectively be the .2 model. And visually, it looks all right. Dare I say, it doesn't even have the appearance of a takedown model. You get the same Hybrid Touch 2.0 upper, or at least a very close variation to the top end model. You get the rubber striking elements, you get a one-piece upper construction, which kind of makes this a hybrid of the laced as well as laceless Predator 30 Elite models, and you get a sole plate that admittedly is a different plastic, but visually looks very similar. However, there is one fatal flaw with this football boot, and that is the fit and comfort is absolutely horrendous. And you get all of that for just 150 bucks. So without beating around the bush, we're gonna go over what's good about the Predator 30 Pro and then why none of those good things matter because of how bad the bad things are. So if you're interested in learning more, including how they fit and feel on feet, please stick around. And if you are interested in a pair for yourself, you should not buy them for any price, but in the event that you want to buy them for some reason, you can pick them up below their normal retail price by way of some exclusive SR4U coupon codes by way of the first link down below. But like I said, nobody should buy these, and if you have ordered them, return them. And as always, if you guys enjoy these brutally honest reviews, don't forget to drop a like on the video and make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you haven't already so you don't miss out on my reviews of all the latest football boots of 2024. No matter how much materials and technology in football boots change, comfort and fit remain undefeated, where if you don't get those two things right, everything else doesn't matter. And if there is one thing that Adidas did not get right with the Predator 30 Pro, it is the comfort and fit, because these have an awful fit and absolutely no comfort. Something that has plagued Adidas takedown models for a very long time now is a shallow fit, particularly through the heel, and the Predator 30 Pro might be the shallowest fitting football boot I've ever had on my feet. And you might be asking yourself, what does that actually mean? When you put any pair of shoes on your feet, the heel is critical in containing your heel and holding it in place inside of the boot. For a football boot in particular, it's critical in regards to comfort as well as overall stability. These football boots, the bottom of my heel is right about here, meaning that only this much of my heel is sitting inside of the boot, and it literally feels like the pressure is all at the very base of my heel. So much so that these boots are tied tight, but there is no containment whatsoever. I can literally pull them off with one hand. And it's not something that I can necessarily show you, but trust me, when you put these on, you will feel it. And if you do happen to try these on in a store and think to yourself, wow, those feel pretty good, try on literally anything else and I guarantee you they'll feel better. And it's not even just the heel with these football boots. They've actually messed up the shape of the entire thing. So while it might look like it's similar in shape to the other Predator models, what you're gonna find is that there is no volume anywhere through this upper. So if you're somebody that has a wide foot, completely disregard these because they are not going to fit you whatsoever. There is no width anywhere. There's no volume anywhere. The shape of the toe box is weird. The pinch in the forefoot is awful. You can see the lacing system, how stretched it is across the top of my foot. That's not because I have super wide feet. That's because there's no width or volume to this upper. It's extremely narrow and low volume all the way through, with the shallowest fitting heel I've ever felt on a pair of football boots, with a sole plate that is so incredibly stiff that even though this technically has the same upper as the high-end model, it ends up feeling just terrible. And if for whatever reason you still care about the sizing, technically they do run true to size. However, the forefoot pinches so much, at least for me, that my foot is kind of forced to arch a little bit more and my toes can't actually reach the end. It's just kind of a pinch point right here that again feels super uncomfortable. It's one of the most awkward feeling football boots on feet. However, true to size is technically what I would recommend. Comfort is one of those things that you can't really see. All I can do is describe it for you, but please, please, please trust me on this, especially if you are trying these on in store. Try on other options as well, because I can guarantee that everything else will feel better. This is truly and honestly coming from somebody that has worn just about every football boot to come out in the last 10, 11, maybe 12 years at this point. This is legitimately one of the worst fitting and feeling football boots I've ever worn. They're so bad, it really makes me question whether or not anybody even attempted to put these on their feet before putting them into production. Just shocking. Beyond the horrible fit and lack of comfort, the upper itself is actually really high quality, as we've been seeing from first takedown models in the Adidas lineup for a couple different generations now within their few lines. This is more or less a very close take on what you'll find from the $260+ models, and that it is technically Hybrid Touch 2.0, which is really soft, really flexible, and to the touch feels good. However, because of the shaping of this boot as well as the stiffness of the sole plate, the upper doesn't end up feeling very good at all, which really goes to show that you can have a great material and a great design, but if the shape and fit isn't right, none of that matters, because these do end up feeling pretty terrible on feet, despite having the same upper of a pair of football boots that I think is one of the best of the year. The strike skin rubber elements are also identical to what you'll find on the much more expensive top-end models. However, the benefits that they provide in grip, again, are so heavily outweighed by all the negatives of this football boot that it pretty much doesn't matter. Unlike the Lace Predator 30 Elite models, this does not feature a standalone tongue, but instead a one-piece upper construction with some elasticated knit kind of filling in the central portion of the foot, and then of course the lacing system to go along with that, which under normal circumstances would be a very positive thing. The materials here are actually very nice, but as you saw with the boots on feet, there's just no volume through the midfoot, and generally this area of the boot just feels very uncomfortable. As we went over, the heel of this boot is a complete disaster. You have a very hard structure internally, a little bit of an extension piece at the back in what is technically a low-cut design, and then padding that sits a little bit higher up but doesn't really do anything because it's so shallow. All you're really getting from the heel of this football boot is weird pressure on the lower part of your heel with the ability to just pop your foot out at any point in time, regardless of how tight you tie the laces. And then the insole is fully removable, which we don't often see from first takedown models from Adidas, this basically being the same as the top end boot, which is a nice improvement again for this price point. However, it just doesn't matter given everything else around the insole. And then there's the sole plate, which again looks very similar to the high-end model, and for a takedown model in general, I actually think it looks quite premium. However, it is incredibly stiff pretty much all the way through, which has been something that has plagued Adidas takedown models for such a long time. There have been situations where they got the first takedown model right. However, this kind of steps right back into what can only be described as some of the worst sole plate design in the industry, in that it's so stiff it just makes the entire football boot feel bad on your feet. There's no other way for me to describe this. A super stiff sole plate with a shallow fitting heel is a recipe for disaster and discomfort, but unfortunately it plagues Adidas takedown models year after year. The stud pattern, however, this being their FG layout, pretty much the same as the high-end model, and from a traction perspective, while the sole plate might not necessarily move all that well with your feet, when it comes to design, this stud pattern is pretty solid. And then there's the weight, where once again, unsurprisingly for an Adidas takedown model, it is significantly heavier than the top model above it, this being the Predator 30 Elite, this being the Predator Pro. In real time on a scale, you can see the top end version weighs in at a relatively lightweight 7.7 ounces, the equivalent of 219 grams. We'll change the scale back to ounces and we'll throw on the Pro model, and you can see that they weigh in at 9.55 ounces, the equivalent of 271 grams. And while I don't think anyone's necessarily buying an Adidas Predator for that super lightweight feel, given that these two boots have effectively the same uppers, it's crazy to think that this is one of the heaviest modern football boots that money can buy. So in conclusion, do not buy the Adidas Predator Pro. Instead, I would recommend literally anything else.